Hi everyone, my name is ATTY Frekhtman. I'm an attorney at the Frekhtman Associates Injury Law Firm here in Brooklyn, New York. We have offices in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. And we've been doing a video series about the different stages of a lawsuit in New York, a personal injury or civil lawsuit. And this is the final video. This is video number 5. And it talks about the trial, which is usually the last step because you've had the pre-litigation stage when a case starts. You've had the lawsuit filing, you've had discovery, you've had the trial calendar or the mediation stage. And if it still hasn't settled for whatever reason, then you have the final stage, stage number 5, the trial, right? That's what you see on TV. That's the most exciting part. That's what trial lawyers live for. That's what, that's it. That's what we're here for. So basically the trial happens like this. If you can't settle the case, they'll usually send you out. It's called sending you out to pick a jury. In New York, there's no judge that observes jury selection, unlike other states. So in New York, it's just 2 lawyers in a room with a panel of, like, let's say 20 jurors, and you just start questioning the jurors. And if there's some kind of disagreement, like for example, I ask a question and the defense lawyer doesn't like the question, they'll say, let's step outside, and then we'll try to agree to just change the question. And if we can't agree, we have to go see the judge. And then sometimes if we really get a contentious one, then the judge will observe, or the law clerk of the judge will observe. Like we just did one in February of 2020, and it was like a 3-week jury selection, and the judge's law clerk was sitting there observing because of some of the disagreements we had. But usually lawyers will, despite popular opinion, usually lawyers can agree and work it out and play nice. So anyway, that's the jury selection. And once jury selection is done, then you get assigned a judge. Sometimes in New York, they have something known as pick and pass, meaning you pick a jury and then you get passed over and you wait a week, and only then do you get assigned a judge. That's just because of a scheduling thing, because the courts in New York are so busy and judges have so many cases that they just don't have a judge for you. But after you pick a jury, you get assigned a judge. The judge will again try to settle the case, call you in, depending on the judge. Some judges are more aggressive towards settlement. Some judges don't really care. They're like, look, you want to settle, settle. You don't want to settle, just try the case. So it just depends on the personality and the nature of the judge. But once the trial gets started, it starts with opening statements, and each side will lay out their contentions, what they intend to prove, what they believe the evidence will show. After that, the plaintiff starts, that's us, representing an injured person, and we'll call witnesses. So we'll call our client, we'll call maybe a police officer, we could call a doctor that treats our client. Again, depending on where you are, because it's very different. Like for example, if you're in the Bronx, it's unified. So everything gets tried together. If you're in Manhattan, it's also unified. Unified means that everything gets tried. All of the issues get tried in one trial, meaning the issue of who's at fault, liability, and the issue of damages, or how much money the jury should allow for things like economic damages, lost wages, future medical bills, and then pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, all of the human losses. How much is that worth, right? How much money will a jury allow, and what's going to be the ultimate result of the trial? So the damages element and the liability element are all done together. And so in that sense, the jury has to answer a questionnaire at the end. And if the jury is asked, was the defendant negligent? If the jury says no, then obviously the case is over and you don't get to allow for an amount because the defendant was not negligent. And so some other jurisdictions like Brooklyn, Queens, what they do is they bifurcate, they cut the baby in half, and they first do the liability trial, decide if the defendant was at fault, and if so, what's the percentage of fault. And once that is adjudicated by a jury, once a jury gives that verdict, then you do the damages trial separately. So it's just different departments, appellate divisions. There's a second department that controls Brooklyn and Queens, and they do it in a bifurcated way where they do it separately. And then there's the first department that controls Bronx and Manhattan, and they do it unified, or they do it all together. So it just depends, where you are. And sometimes if the case is a special kind of case, you can make a motion. For example, if you have a bifurcated trial, but the liability and the damages elements are inextricably intertwined, you can make a motion and the judge will let you do a unified trial. So it just depends on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, so after you do the opening statement, you call witnesses, and then the witnesses will testify, and there's cross-examination. So if my client is injured and my client takes the stand and she testifies, I can't do this, I can't do that, then the defense lawyer can cross-examine her, maybe show a video. Hey, wait a minute, you said you can't lift something, but here's a video of you lifting something, if they have surveillance or whatever the cross-examination material may be. And in the same vein, if their doctor is a defense doctor and he says, oh, I don't believe your client could be injured. And I could say, doctor, isn't it true that you don't even treat patients anymore? You haven't been treating patients for 30 years. You make all of your income as a paid expert, as a hired gun for these insurance companies. You can't say insurance, but you could say for these defendants, that's all you do. And you could show that he makes millions of dollars a year testifying on behalf of insurance companies, but never actually treats patients. So who would you believe? Him or a surgeon who's actually treating your client? So that's, cross-examination. And then each side gets to do a closing argument where they summarize the evidence, and that's known as a summation or closing argument. Then after that, the judge will read the law to the jurors. She'll charge the jury as to the law. And there are pattern jury instructions, books that have all the information about the type of case and what are the standard charges. And then after that, the jury will go and deliberate. They'll sit in a room and they'll talk. And then one of the most important things they have to do is they have to convince each other why they feel the way they do about each issue. And then they have to make that group decision about how each question is going to be decided. And then once that is done, they're going to have the verdict, and then that's read in the court, and then the case is over. So I hope this has been helpful. This is just a brief overview of the entire jury process and the entire lawsuit process in New York. This part is about the trial, which is the final step in the process. Okay, thank you so much. Feel free to ask any questions. We ask you to subscribe to our channel so you can get future videos. You can also put your comments or questions below. And if you want a video, like a personal private consultation video about a topic, just put your question below and we can try to make one to answer your questions. We'll take the most popular questions and we'll make videos to respond to you. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Have a great day and stay safe out there. Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.